I watched people who love winter. This is the psychology of people who hate summer. Psychology simplified. I've technically seen this. It's just the reverse. It's just the reverse.
Every single person in your life is losing their mind right now, talking about beach trips, counting down days, posting sunsets, and you're just sitting there, watching all of it happen, wondering if something is genuinely broken inside you, because the thought of going outside right now sounds like a punishment you didn't earn. You don't hate fun. You want to be clear about that. You just hate this particular brand of fun that comes with sweat and UV damage and the social obligation to act thrilled about all of it. And
since I've technically already seen this with the loving winter, I'm planning on doing a Q&A right after I have my foot surgery, like shortly in there. I think it'd be fun.
Here's the thing people never say out loud. Summer is the only season that comes preloaded with a personality. You don't get handed a checklist in November. Nobody's looking at you sideways in February going, why aren't you more into this? But summer shows up and suddenly there's an unspoken rule that your mood, your wardrobe, your entire social calendar should realign around the sun. Like,
the funny thing is like when winter's around, I like going out in winter. I like going out in the snow. I love seeing the isolation, the blanket of white if you're in the snow. I love that. I hate where I'm at because I have to drive up the mountain towards work to get to snow when it's winter. I need to drive up even higher towards Yosemite to get to snow even earlier and later as well because it stays longer. But I'm in the desert, so it's dry year round. We get rain, but that's about it. That's about it. But I hate summers. I hate the summer, especially walking around the buildings, and they are like an oven. Summer is great if you have AC. Yes, exactly. I have an AC right there with the air not pointing at me. Right now, the air is pointing towards my greased screen, which is sliding and then hitting the fan, or the flag, and making the flag wave. I thought that was nice. So I'm letting the AC move, but I need to be cold. I need to be cold because I can always bundle up. I can always burrito it up with blankets and everything.
The sun is your boss now. Congratulations. So what's actually happening in the psychology of someone who recoils from all this? Let's start somewhere a little uncomfortable. There's a decent chunk of the population, and researchers who study sensory processing have been slowly building the case for this, whose nervous systems are wired to pick up more noise, more heat, more stimulation, more everything. Elaine Aron's work on the highly sensitive person describes roughly 20% of the population as having a nervous system that processes environmental input more deeply. And summer is basically a sensory assault that never clocks out.
See, I've always said that everyone in the world deals with some kind of more mental instability. You just have to be aware of it. You just have to be aware of it. I always am. I always am.
Heat alone, the radiating, relentless, nowhere to hide heat, can push an already stimulated nervous system into a state that feels less like discomfort and more like low-grade dread. You're not dramatic. Your system is just loudly telling you something that other people's systems are quietly ignoring. And then there's the social pressure, which honestly deserves its own entire video, but we'll stay here a minute. Summer does this thing where everyone's schedule clears at the same time, and suddenly there's this ambient pressure to fill it. The group chats wake up, the we should all do something energy arrives. And if you're someone who finds that particular kind of availability quietly exhausting rather than exciting, you know how impossible it is to articulate that without sounding like you're complaining about having friends, which is maybe the most socially unacceptable complaint a person can have. But the tiredness is real, even when the reason sounds ridiculous out loud. And then comes the guilt, which is almost worse than the exhaustion itself, because you're not allowed to just be tired, you have to also feel bad about being tired. You catch yourself thinking, I should want this, and when you don't, that thought curdles into something a little darker, the kind of quiet self-questioning that follows you into August like a second shadow. Can we talk about sleep for a second?
Summer is hibernation period for humans. I thought winter was. But yeah, I mean, for me, these kind of stuff don't work on me because I don't feel obligated to do that stuff. I have no problem doing what I enjoy doing because guess what? I enjoy doing it. I've always had a view of the world that most don't. A lot of people look at the world and go like, who's going to look at me today and how are they going to judge me? I look at the world as it is mine. As narcissistic as that sounds, more people would be happier if they looked at the world that way. Not in the sense that the world owes you anything, but in the sense that you are content and you don't owe the world anything. The world doesn't owe you, you don't owe the world. That's the mindset you need to have. Like, there are only 3 opinions that matter. What your significant other thinks of you, because I know my wife absolutely loves me and will do anything for me. I'm happy. What God thinks of you. And, well, if you believe in God, you already know that you are, you are accepted. You are accepted. And then what you think of yourself. What you think of yourself. And that sounds narcissistic, but that's okay. Because you need to be happy with yourself. You can't be seeking happiness from other people. You can't be seeking happiness from other people. You have to be seeking happiness from yourself, from the divine, from your significant other. And if you're depressed and you're atheist, switch the divine with like a parental figure or family or siblings. But you has to be a small number of people that matter. Like, I'll listen to my friend's criticism, but my friend's criticism isn't law, like my wife's is, like God's is, like mine is. But it is criticism that I should listen to because I respect him. But you never, you should always hold to your own, yourself, your significant other, and God. That's always been my perspective. That's always been my perspective.
Because this one genuinely surprises
So
people.
this stuff doesn't
The longer
affect
days
me.
don't just affect your mood in some vague metaphorical way. They mess with melatonin production in a very literal biochemical sense. Light suppresses melatonin. More daylight hours means more melatonin suppression, later sleep onset, and for a lot of people, chronically worse sleep quality across June, July, and August. Research tracking people across seasons has found that sleep duration in summer is meaningfully shorter compared to winter. We're talking around 16 minutes less per night on average. And while that sounds small, that compounds. Weeks of slightly short sleep is not nothing. And if you're someone who's already sensitive to sleep disruption, who gets irritable or anxious or emotionally dysregulated when they haven't slept properly, then summer isn't just hot and loud. Summer is also making you subtly sleep deprived.
Bro have a king mindset. I don't know. That's just how I've always thought about it. That is some off K. That is some KGF like mindset. I don't know. But yeah, it's it's crazy. But I did check out Sandman. I checked out the part where he commented on me, where I'm like, what the heck game is he playing?
For 3 consecutive months, and you might have never connected those two things. You thought you were just in a bad mood. You were also exhausted. There's also something worth naming about identity. Summer has a vibe, and if that vibe isn't yours, if you're pale and prefer it, if you hate crowds, if your idea of a good afternoon involves a book and a room with temperature control, then summer is one long season of being slightly out of place in the dominant culture. And humans are social creatures who calibrate a lot of their self-perception against what's around them. Spending 3 months feeling like the only person who didn't get the memo is quietly corrosive to your sense of self in ways you might not even notice until September rolls around and you feel this wave of relief that's almost embarrassing in how big it is. That relief is data. It's telling you something real about what you actually need to feel okay. And some of it, let's be honest, is memory. Seasons carry emotional residue. Summer might have been the hardest time of year for you at some point. Maybe school was the only structure that made your days feel manageable, and summer obliterated that. Maybe a relationship fell apart in July. Maybe you grew up in a house where the heat made everyone tense and loud. The brain is not great at separating then from now when the environmental cues are identical. The smell of sunscreen, the quality of late afternoon light, the specific sound of a lawnmower. These things are time machines, whether you consent to the trip or not. So when summer arrives and you feel this vague, nameless resistance before anything has even happened yet, there's a real possibility that your nervous system is reacting to a previous summer, one that you thought you were over. None of this means you're broken. Actually, and this is something that tends to genuinely surprise people when they hear it, preferring cooler, darker, quieter environments often correlates with higher trait introspection and a richer internal world. Research on thinking introversion, the facet of introversion defined specifically by engagement with one's inner life and imagination, consistently describes it as associated with a cultivated depth of self-awareness that most people spend years trying to build. The people
See, what I say, what you think of yourself. It's self-awareness. You have to be content with yourself. That is, in the end, and no matter if you're an extrovert, an introvert, a psychopath, whatever, a retard like myself, you have to know who you are as a human being. You have to be aware. You have to know about your failings. You have to know about your mental instabilities. You have to know about your addictions. You have to know, like, I know my addictions. I know my addictions. I know my issues. Everyone needs to be aware. And the thing is, we need to do a better job of encouraging the next generation to get in touch with themselves. And as weird as that sounds, I don't know the best way to put it, as it's sounding strange or whatever, but as new age, I guess it would be, as new age as that sounds, that is just something that seems to be the best for everyone. You need to know who you are. Find out who you are. I realized who I was at a young age because I had to grow up quicker. I realized my vices. I love anime. I drink soda. I don't like going out much. Of course, I'm a product of my childhood, but at the same time, I've realized and accepted the fact that even though my childhood was non-existent, I won't change it for anything, because I wouldn't have the amazing wife I have today if it wasn't for my childhood. I wouldn't have the way I look at the world today if it wasn't for my childhood. I'd probably be in the same situation some of my brothers are. Are they better off than me? Absolutely. They didn't make the mistake of going to an art school like I did, or an arts college. They got real degrees, so they can really get paid. I'm doing a menial labor job, but at the same time, I'm happy with who I am. I'm content and know who I am. I've seen people in my family and just others struggle because they've never discovered who they are. And now they're at a point in their life where they need to find out who they are, and they're kind of just lost. They're wafting about. Figure out who you are, find out your demons, find out your strengths, and don't appease your demons. Appease your strengths and learn to control your demons. Learn to control those things about you that make you a worse person.
who are most comfortable being inside with their thoughts tend to be people who
Every topic goes back to his wife. Absolutely. Because my wife is the source of everything. She is the source of everything. The most important thing in my life, other than God and other than myself. So, I have to bring it back full circle to the three things that matter. The three opinions that matter.
have put real sustained work into that interior space, consciously or not. That's not a consolation prize. That's a real cognitive and emotional asset. You just happen to have built it partly because the alternative, pretending to love the heat, never worked for you. What's interesting though is how rarely people who hate summer are actually allowed to just hate summer without a caveat, without the, oh, but you should really try to enjoy it response, without someone suggesting a different sunscreen or a better hat as if the problem was ever hat related. The season has enough cultural capital that disliking it reads as a personality defect to some people. And so a lot of summer haters have learned to perform a mild tolerance they don't actually feel, which is its own kind of exhaustion layered on top of everything else. You've been managing other people's feelings about your feelings about weather for years, and you've been doing it politely. Here's something I want you to sit with before September rescues you again. The way you move through summer, the retreating, the carefully rationed social energy, the genuine relief you feel when clouds roll in, that's not failure. That's self-knowledge. Knowing what costs you and choosing to protect yourself from it is something that a large portion of the population is actively working toward in therapy and still hasn't figured out. You already know. You've always known. You just thought knowing something about yourself that diverged from the majority meant something was wrong with you. It doesn't. It means you've been paying attention. And if you made it this far, if you watched this and felt recognized by any piece of it, I'd genuinely love to know in the comments what summer actually feels like for you. Because for all the beach content and golden hour posts, there are a lot of people scrolling in a slightly air-conditioned room hoping someone would just say it. So there it is. One last thing. A lot of people watching are quietly dealing with the exact stuff this video orbits. A brain that won't stop, a sleep schedule that's been off for...
So that's the thing. It's just like, for me, none of this really... it's the counterpoint... Well, it's the same thing as the people who love winter. It's just... They hate the summer. So let's look at it from the summer aspect. Let's look at it from the summer aspect. That's literally all they did here. But it's always good to just watch a video where it's good to remind people to think for themselves, to make sure they know who they are. Because you can't really find happiness in life until, like, sure, you can have bouts of happiness. Maybe find a motivational video that'll get you to smile while you're doom scrolling, but that's not true happiness. True happiness is knowing that there is someone you can come home to. True happiness is knowing that there is someone that will hands down do anything they can possibly do for you in their life. Like, true happiness is being content. True happiness is just knowing that you have a foundation. Most people chase the fake happiness. They chase the virality kind of likes. Oh, did I get enough likes on this video? Oh, did I get enough oh, I got a single dislike. What am I gonna do? People were very negatively triggered by this. What did I say? What did I do? A lot of people get so far down that rabbit hole that it affects them in reality when it shouldn't. It shouldn't, because even though, sure, that stuff can be an indicator of how people took you, it doesn't mean you have to change who you are, unless you're just an outright terrible human being, which I will own up to being a terrible human being. I will own up to being a terrible human being. I'm a retard who just speaks his mind and offends a lot of people. I offend a lot of people. I mean, heck, I was watching Family Friendly, and I was adding to the jokes and stereotypes they were doing. Laughing too freaking hard. But you have to be content. You have to know who you are. And know that just because other people are a certain way, you don't have to do what they're doing. You don't have to do what they're doing. Just because they're doing drugs, just because they're drinking alcohol, just because they're wanting to study for an engineering degree, and you want to be a retard like me and go to an art school. You don't have to do the engineering degree because you're expected to. You don't have to. You can become an accountant. You can become whatever you want. A doctor, a lawyer, peace officer. Do what you want to do. Figure out what you want to do first and foremost. Be happy with who you are. And always try to find the positives in every situation you're in. Like for me, I have a menial labor job. Is it the best? Absolutely not. However, I can look at the aspects of where it's easy to do. I know what I need to do almost every single day, and there aren't any surprises. I don't have to deal with people because it's nights, and I basically by myself almost all night. Look at the positives. Don't focus on the negatives if you're unhappy at a workplace. You look at the positives, because the positives are the ones that will guide you. Will keep your head out of water. Because if you focus on the negatives, you'll always be negative while there and won't actually enjoy the time you have. For me, I have plenty of time to listen to books as I'm moving around. I have plenty of time to stay active. I have plenty of time to just reminisce and plan, like how I was mentioning before, how I was planning on, at some point, like how I was planning on, you know what, maybe I should learn at least the waltz, a simple dance to do with my wife. But yeah, I've learned a lot in my younger years, which have really held true and only have become more reinforced as I've gotten older and have seen more adults make the mistakes that I will never make, because I'm assured in who I am. I'm assured in who I am.
You guys got a video? So bad.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait on that.